In the quarterfinal round of the 2020 Gold Cup, the U.S. men's national team continues their winning streak with a 1-0 victory over Jamaica. And the Reggae boys came out hot. They came out to play. They pressed. They ran tirelessly. But eventually, it was the U.S. men's national team with a header from Matthew Hoppe that sees the U.S. men's national team advancing to the semifinal round of the Gold Cup against Qatar. Now, this game was interesting for a ton of different reasons. The U.S. put out a very exciting lineup. We got to see some players like Matthew Hoppe doing some really fun things out there. We saw a major tactical shift from Greg Berhalter in the second half that really changed the game for the U.S. men's national team. Let's get into all that and more on this episode of the Yank Report. What's up? My name is Sam. Welcome to the Yank Report, the show where we talk about the U.S. men's national team. And if you're into U.S. soccer, please hit that subscribe button so you can see more of these videos in the future. And if you want to support the channel, the best way to do so is hit that like button. Let's set a goal for this video. Let's say 450 likes for this video. If this video gets 450 likes, the U.S. men's national team will be in the finals once again of the Gold Cup. Now, the U.S. came out in a very exciting lineup, but before we get to that, let me say thank you to our sponsor for today's video, and that is OneFootball. OneFootball is the free app that allows you to track your favorite players, your favorite teams, your favorite leagues, and have push notifications go directly to your phone so you never miss anything. It's a great companion app for something like the Gold Cup because you can see all the match times and everything right there in your phone. You can see all the statistics from the game. You can track what, if you want to check up on Qatar and see how they did throughout the tournament. It's super easy to do it through OneFootball. It's just right there, everything at your fingertips. Download the OneFootball app today for free. There is a link right there in the description. By clicking that link, you'll not only get the latest football news directly to your phone, but you'll also be supporting the Yank Report directly, and you will be supporting a company that supports content creators for U.S. soccer like me. So thank you to OneFootball. Now let's check out the lineup. So we had Turner in goal. We had Shaq Moore right back, James Sands and Miles Robinson as the center back, Sam Vines at left back, Kellen Acosta as the 6, Busio and Leggett further upfield as the dual 8s. We had Paul Arriola as the right wing, we had DK in the middle, and we had Matthew Hoppe as the left wing. Now, this game marked a return to that 4-4-3 that we've seen so much over Greg Berhalter's tenure. I mean, a lot of that is due to Walker Zimmerman being injured and just having not a lot of depth at center back, and then the return of Paul Arriola that saw the U.S. go back to this traditional shape. We also got to see Kellen Acosta at 90 minutes at the 6, which was something a lot of people have wanted to see, and he had a pretty good game. We'll get into that later, but we also saw Gianluca Busio further upfield in that 8 position, and he had sometimes good game, sometimes not great game. We'll get into that. Now let's jump into the notes, and the first note is from the first minute. Jamaica came out to play, ladies and gentlemen. From the kickoff, Sands receives a back pass that he attempts to clear upfield. His clearance is blocked towards Robinson. Robinson likewise attempts a clearance upfield, which is also blocked, but this time the blocked ball goes directly into the path of a Jamaican forward who is in the box alone with Turner. His shot is stopped by Turner, but it's a dangerous opportunity for Jamaica. Probably the most dangerous opportunity for Jamaica in the entire match. Matt Turner was up to it. He is a fantastic shot blocker, as we all know, but I think Jamaica came out with a real intensity. This is a knockout game. This is the type of intensity that we saw against Honduras in the Nations League, and we've got to remember that there's a lot of these players that are playing in the Gold Cup have never faced international competition on this level before. This is the biggest game of their international careers. Players like Sands and Robinson and even Vines and Shaq Moore, even though Shaq Moore is a really experienced player, he hasn't been playing internationally much at all. You can throw in Daryl DK in there, Matthew Hoppe, Gianluca Busio. A lot of guys have never experienced this type of competition, and I think we saw that in the first 25 minutes of the game where Jamaica was just on the front foot and really counter-pressing, really trying to create counterattacks, and the U.S. kind of took a moment to get into the game and rise up to that intensity level. In the 15th minute of the game, Daryl DK fights off a Jamaican defender to dig a ball out of the left corner. DK passes back to Sam Vines, who crosses to the back post in the path of Shaq Moore, who's making a run in behind. Vines' cross is on target, but Moore's first touch lets him down, allowing Kamar Lawrence back into the play to defend the ball for a Jamaican goal kick. Now, I highlighted this play because this was a tremendous cross from Sam Vines, and I think this is the second game in a row where we've really seen Sam Vines play well and have an impact on the game, both offensively and defensively. This cross in particular was one of the best crosses of the game. Puts Shaq Moore alone with the keeper. If Shaq Moore has a better touch on that ball, if he has the quality to one-time that, the U.S. can go up early in this game. You know, coming into the tournament, Sam Vines was one of those players that we circled as a player that could potentially make a World Cup qualifying roster at left back, because that's a position that we just don't have a lot of depth in. Particularly, we don't have a left back that's really like a shutdown defensive player. I'm not saying that Sam Vines is a shutdown defensive player, but he has, I think, outperformed expectations coming into this tournament, especially defensively, but offensively as well. He had some really nice crosses and was a quality player throughout this game. In the 21st minute, Miles Robinson goes route one to Daryl DK, who is in the middle of two Jamaican defenders. DK does not win the header, but he does enough to get the Jamaican defender to head the ball backwards into a dangerous area. The always lively Matthew Hoppe runs into that area and hits a left-footed volley hard to the keeper's near post. Blake makes the save. Now, this was the first of Hoppe's two volleys in this game. It came from Miles Robinson playing a route one ball. That's something we started to see because early on in this game, you know, the U.S. was trying to play that possession style that we so often see, but I think that there were two big factors that were making them struggle. First of all, the pitch was just not good, man. The pitch was patchy, and you could see that clearly on television. I'm sure in person it was even worse. I had some people tweeting me who were at the game that were saying the pitch is just atrocious. I mean, you could see the patches of grass. They were playing in Jerry World in the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium, and I'm sure it was a field that was put together before the game, and it just made for long passes on the ground and predictable long balls really difficult. The second thing that affected the U.S. possession game was just the Jamaican press. The Jamaicans were intense, and they were on the front foot throughout that first 25 minutes. I mean, they put a lot into that first 25 minutes trying to chase a goal. Now, looking at our midfield, we know that Kellen Acosta is solid defensively, but, you know, sometimes in possession he's not that great, especially with the short passes, and we saw some bad moments from him there, although his defensive moments were tremendous throughout the game. And Gianluca Busio, a player that I've been very high on throughout his career, had big expectations for him coming into this tournament, but honestly, after that first half, I thought he was going to get pulled because he just never seemed comfortable on the ball. That Jamaican press, he really struggled with it, and he had a lot of turnovers early in that first half and really killed a lot of the U.S.'s attacks because he was just not prepared for that kind of physicality and that kind of intensity. And I think the best illustration of that came in the 30th minute whenever Corey Burke was whistled for a foul. I believe the foul was actually on him because Jamaica got a free kick there, but after the play, Gianluca Busio was kind of just walking past him, and Corey Burke just absolutely stiff-arms him, just gives him the Heisman. Busio goes flying off the screen. I mean, Busio goes right down. That was the moment that really solidified to me that, you know, Busio, as good as he is on the ball and technically, the physical side of the game is something that he's going to have to grow into throughout his career. Now, in the 39th minute, Jamaica gets a big opportunity. A loose ball in midfield turns into a 50-50 for Acosta. Acosta completely whiffs on the ball, giving Jennings an opportunity from 40 yards out. The shot forces a diving save from Turner. Now, this was a period of the game where the U.S. was really struggling to maintain the ball, and we saw balls kind of squirting out all over the place, partly because of that intense pressure from Jamaica and partly because just the pitch was just, it was very tough to predict what was going to happen with the ball. And in this particular instance, Jamaica gets an opportunity, and they have a nice shot on goal. Now, one thing I'll say, you know, the broadcast team of Stu Holden and I think it was John Strong, they kept remarking about all the shots that Jamaica was getting. But in this game, and really throughout the tournament from the U.S. has really minimized the quality chances that the opposition has gotten. They've allowed opposition to take a lot of shots from the distance, and Matt Turner's been equal to all of them. You know, I put the tweet out there after the game, and it seemed like some people were surprised by this. The U.S. has given up 0 goals in this Gold Cup through the run of play. Their one goal that they gave up came from a penalty kick. I think a lot of that goes to the defenders that we actually have out there on the field, namely Miles Robinson and James Sands. James Sands has gotten a lot of plaudits for his play as a center back in the three-in-the-back system, and I think the three-in-the-back system suits his style a little bit more than a four-man back line, but he still had a great game. But I think Miles Robinson in this four-man back line, we really got to see what a dominant force he is out there. I mean, athletically, he can just recover and he can chase anybody down. He wins absolutely everything on the air, in the air. He's just a dominant, imposing defender. Numerous moments throughout this game, whenever Miles Robinson was in a one-on-one situation, we saw the quality that he has. And I think that one of the biggest things that we found throughout this Gold Cup tournament is that in James Sands and Miles Robinson, the U.S. have two more defenders that I think we'd all be pretty comfortable seeing with that first team in the first 23 if it's necessary that they get called upon. In the 45th minute, the U.S. has a corner kick, and for once, Sebastian Lletget actually delivers it into the mixer. Jamaica win the corner, sending the ball to the top of the box in the path of Kellyn Acosta. Acosta measures and hits a laser beam of a volley that flies just over the crossbar. Now, I bring this up for a couple of different reasons. Number one, for whatever reason, in the first half, the U.S. just kept taking short corners and kept trying to do cute things on corner kicks as opposed to just putting it in the middle. Now, I'd say that there's a variety of reasons for that. First of all, Jamaica had a gigantic team. They were like superhumans out there. And the other thing was Sebastian Lletget kept taking the corner kicks, and it was a bit of a surprise. I mean, Gianluca Busio, one of his best qualities is his dead ball ability. And, you know, Gianluca Busio takes corner kicks for his club team, and I would imagine that his delivery would be better and more consistent with Lletget's. I don't know why Lletget continued to take corner kicks. I'm not sure if he had a quality corner kick throughout this game, but I digress. So that was halftime. The U.S. had a really rough half, man. I mean, Jamaica was picking balls off of us in midfield left and right. There was a ton of turnovers. We had Matthew Hoppe out there, who I didn't talk about early in the first half. I'll talk about him in the second half, of course. But Matthew Hoppe, he was definitely a dynamic, bright spot on the wing for the U.S., and he was dropping back at times, and he was kind of all over the field. But with all of his dynamism, he did have a ton of turnovers. You could tell that this is a young player just trying to make his mark on the field. Now, I will say this about Matthew Hoppe. Matthew, I watched, I don't know how many of your games at Schalke last year, and I didn't see any of this flair from you. Where is this coming from? Because I remember you being a pretty boring player to watch, and now all of a sudden, you look like the reincarnation of a 19-year-old Clint Dempsey out there. So some good and some bad from Hoppe, a lot of bad from Busio, some good and some bad from a lot of different players on the field. Overall, it seemed like Jamaica was more on the front foot of that game. The U.S. probably had better quality chances in the first half, but Jamaica had more chances overall. We were struggling to deal with that pressure, and we were struggling to deal with that counterattack. In the 47th minute, right after halftime, the U.S. has another corner kick. Now, this time, Lletget actually does put it into the mixer, but once again, it fails to beat the first defender. The ball ends up back in the mixer where DK plays a touch out to Hoppe. Hoppe has the opportunity to have his second volley of the game, and it is a laser, but unfortunately, it is directly at Andre Blake, who, of course, is a phenomenal keeper, and he makes easy work of that. Now, this was just another opportunity. It seemed like the ball kept finding Hoppe. So Hoppe in the box provides that danger for this U.S. men's national team attack that we just haven't seen in the previous games of this Gold Cup. Now, in the 50th minute, around there, I don't know exactly when it happened, but I started noticing this tactical shift from Berhalter that really changed things up. Gianluca Busio, who was playing as a right attacking midfielder throughout this game, was really struggling further up the field with the physicality of the game and the speed of the game and just the pressure he was receiving from Jamaica. Around the 50 to 60th minute mark, we start seeing Busio pop up almost as a right back. Pretty much as a right back whenever the U.S. has possession and they're in the attack. Now, whenever they're in the defense, he's back upfield. Kellyn Acosta is the 6, Shaq Moore is the right back. But once they break out and they're in possession in the attack, Busio started drifting back into that space. And what that did was it allowed Shaq Moore to get further upfield. And it provided that width that the U.S. men's national team needed, but what it also did was it allowed Busio to pick up the ball with the whole field in front of him with a ton of space. It seemed like Jamaica's press system hadn't really accounted for either an American player playing there or a player in that right back spot that could just dictate so much of the game. once Busio started finding space in that area and he was able to kind of ping balls all over the field, it completely changed the game. Suddenly, Jamaica went from being on the front foot to starting to look tired. Now, they had been running for an hour previously to that, so that probably had a lot to do with it. But you could see the mentality and the momentum start to shift to the U.S. side. And that's whenever the U.S. started to really just recycle possession, start pinging the ball all over the place, and really create some of the better chances for them in the attack. And look, I've said many times previously that one of the biggest knocks against Greg Berhalter is his in-game adjustments and his substitutions. And in this game, we saw not only some early substitutions that impacted the game, but we also saw this in-game adjustment that once he made that move, Jamaica just had no answer for it, and it was the U.S.'s game after that. So credit to Greg Berhalter for making that move, figuring that out, and making that adjustment that just really changed everything and seemed to make the whole team click. In the 63rd minute, the U.S. makes a substitution. Daryl DK and Paul Arriola come out. Gyasi Zardes and Christian Roldan come in. Now, let me make a note on DK. DK was disappointing, another disappointing game for Daryl DK. He was disappointing in that Canada game, and he was disappointing once again here. Daryl DK is one of the players that was the marquee name coming into this Gold Cup. Everybody expected him to have bushels of goals and to just dominate and be a big physical presence up top. And we just haven't seen it from him. Now, we know he is a young player still adjusting to the international game, and we know that this possession style isn't really his style. But in this particular game, when we were playing so much Route 1, we would have expected more from Daryl DK because this is kind of his style, and we just didn't really see it. So heading into that semifinal game, we might be seeing Gyasi Zardes starting for the U.S. men's national team, and I don't know if we can really complain about that because Daryl DK just hasn't been effective with his opportunities so far. Gyasi Zardes didn't take long to make an impact in this game. In the 65th minute, the U.S. have a counter, and Zardes wins a ball into space towards Roldan. Roldan 50-50s a ball with a Jamaican defender that kind of squirts out into a nice space from Zardes. Zardes runs onto the ball, has a nice touch, and then has a strike at goal that forces a save from Blake. It was a good, strong, powerful strike. It was something that we didn't really see from DK over the 60 minutes that he was in the game, and almost immediately, Zardes hits the field, and he's asking questions of the Jamaican defense. Now, from about the 65th minute on, we really start to see that impact that Busio moving to the right back is having in that game. We start seeing Shaq Moore pop up in the channel in the half space, and Christian Roldan or Paul Arriola, whoever's in the game at the time, kind of squirt out as that widest player. And it's creating all kinds of opportunities, and the Jamaicans just really don't know how to deal with this overload. And then anytime the U.S. need to, they kind of just pass it back out to Busio, who starts to recycle the whole thing all over again. And it is this sequence that leads to the breakthrough goal for the U.S. men's national team in the 83rd minute. Shaq Moore, as I said before, operating in that half space, plays out wide to Christian Roldan. Roldan plays a beautiful cross to the back post towards Zardes and Hoppe, who have both sort of grouped up on that back post. Hoppe outmuscles his defender to win the header and put the ball in the back of the net, 1-0 for U.S. Now, this was Hoppe's last moment of the game. He was subbed out immediately after. Once again, a tremendous game from Hoppe where we saw the highs and the lows of Matthew Hoppe, just a young player kind of coming into his own and kind of figuring it out on the international level. So I know everyone is excited to see what Matthew Hoppe is going to do in the semifinals. Christian Roldan with a fantastic cross. This is kind of the Christian Roldan that we're used to seeing from Seattle. To be fair to Christian Roldan, he came on, had a pretty solid game for himself in the last half hour or so that he was on the field. And as before I said that Greg Berhalter in the past has failed to make impact subs and to change his game. This is a moment where a Greg Berhalter adjustment leads to Greg Berhalter subs having a decisive impact on the game, because we see Busio out in that right back position. We see Shaq Moore in the channel in an advanced position. We see Christian Roldan with the assist, and we see Gyasi Zardes kind of occupying defenders, freeing up Matthew Hoppe and the back post to put away the header. Now, that was basically it for the game. Now, there were some interesting storylines that happened. I think Daryl DK, for me, is the headline from this game, and it's a negative headline. It's why has DK been so ineffective? This is supposed to be his breakout tournament. This is supposed to continue driving up that price tag from Daryl DK. If anything, throughout this Gold Cup, we've seen Daryl DK's price tag come down, which is not a very uplifting thing for the U.S. men's national team. I know a lot of people had DK penciled in after a few games ago as the starting striker for the U.S. men's national team. Then all of a sudden, people are saying, maybe DK's not in the lineup. Maybe it's P-Fog. Maybe Hoppe should be the second striker or the starting striker. Maybe Ricardo Pepi deserves an opportunity. Suddenly, DK's not even in the roster. So DK's really fallen off in the eyes of fans, and I think I would be surprised almost if he's starting the semifinal game. So that was my rundown of the game. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Who were the big winners and who were the big losers for you? Are you going to give Greg some credit for his adjustments that led to the winner in this game? What do you think about Matthew Hoppe's game? What do you think about Daryl DK's game? How do we use Busio moving forward? Do you like the US's chances against Qatar? Let me know in the comment section. As always, if you speak Spanish, please leave a comment in Spanish. Así que puedo practicar mi español. If you're not yet subscribed, please do me that favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't hit the like button, what are you doing? Hit the like button. Come on, you watch this whole video, just hit the like button. It's free, it's easy, it helps me out. I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report.